Hiya peeps, I'm Karen from Starfish Crafts. Today I thought I'd share with you some of my colouring techniques using the Derwent Inktense pencils. This has got to be my favourite medium to use. I hope that you will craft along with me. I'm going to be using just the 12 set because I know that a lot of people have probably bought these in the past and either tried them out and didn't know what to do with them, or have put them away somewhere or something like that sort of thing. And I thought it's the ideal starter kit, and it isn't very expensive if you wanted to have a go just with the 12, and there's so much you can achieve just with those. To show you some of the stuff that I've done a video for this one before, which obviously I showed how I was stamping to create the collage as well, because obviously these overlap. But I'm going to be showing you the techniques that I used for this. One of the other ones I did was this one here. It's on an A4. Using, these are pink ink stamps, by the way, sorry. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different stamps there, and then all the background bits and adding into it, and a bit of the shading, and I used a graphite pencil to go around the edges here to create the shadow and things like that, but I'll show you all that. And then I also did an underwater theme, again with the pink ink design stamps. So sort of creating a slightly different coloured background for this, but not necessarily a sea background, because obviously I've kept the sea colours to the actual thing. But as you can see, it's only got a couple of different colours there, but when it's blended together they create a really nice effect. And then obviously when you accent it with the black and the white, it really makes it pop out. Okay, so the one on the stamp I'm going to be using for this one is the Three Kings, We Three Kings Pink Ink Designs. This is just how I get it in my packaging, if I put it in there. I'm going to be using the little one for the demonstrations. You can obviously, whatever stamps you've got, but see, I'm on the design team for pink ink, so I've chosen to use pink ink stamps. And when I've shown you all the different colouring techniques, I'll then do one big collage, and you can see all the stamps together and how we put all the bits together. So the first thing I've done is stamped out the smaller penguin here 8 times. Now you can use watercolour card, any watercolour card you've got, or like a journal that's got watercolour paper in, which is what I'm using here. This paper's pretty thin. I would have said it's only about 180 GSMs, not very good at all really, but for demonstrations it's not too bad, and obviously in a journal it's fine. If I was doing a big picture like some of these ones, then I would be using a 300 GSM, probably hot press I think is my go-to, yeah. So like a Bockingford or a Canson, something like that sort of thing, it's pretty good. It doesn't matter if it's smooth or textured. It's all down to personal preference. Obviously if you've got textured ones, then stamping onto it you need to press a little bit firmer and have a lot more juicy ink pad so they all stay on there. I'm going to split this video into 3 parts, because I think that there's so much to cover that I want to show you loads of different things, but I also don't want to have to speed up the video, because I think that you'll miss out on bits and pieces sort of thing. Because when I did the one for the video for this one, I obviously sped it up, which meant that you couldn't necessarily tell, you didn't see how it dried, how it set, and how the colours blended together. Yes, you know, so I thought to slow it down in this one and show you loads of different things. I'm also only going to be using 2 colours. So out of your set of 12 that you've got here, I have done a bit of a tester page in here, like this, where I've mixed, it seems a bit messy, but I've mixed the colours for every single one. Now, as you can see, the yellow tends to go with a lot of the other colours without giving you a horrible mess. So I would recommend using a yellow just as your base colour, and then pick another colour that goes with it. I'm going to be using a blue, I think, so I will get yellow, blue and greens in that. We're going to get a mix. You could obviously use a lighter green, or The teal green works really well. It's quite vibrant. As you can see, the fuchsia for a completely different, almost like rhubarb and custard sort of look, but it's quite fun to play with. Again, just pick 2 colours out of your set and have a play. The reason I'm starting with 2 is because I feel that there's a lot you can achieve with just 2 colours, and it's always fun to have a go. So first thing I'm going to do is, oh, by the way, I've stamped these with archival ink. Needs to be a waterproof ink pad that you use, whatever one you've got, whether it's the archival, the VersaFine, either the VersaFine Normal or the VersaFine Clear, whichever one you've got, but it needs to be waterproof. You don't want to miss anything. Right. The other thing, I tend to use my paintbrush straight onto my pencils. I know some people go, oh no, you can't do that, because you'll shred it like I have done there. But I don't intend on doing a lot of colouring with these pencils. I'm going to use them primarily as paint, so I'm not too concerned about that. But if you wanted to preserve them, get yourself some thin sandpaper, and then whatever ones you want to use, just rub a little bit on there, and then when you use your water, you can just pick it up and use it straight away. Spare bit of paper that I wanted, and you can use it straight away like that. There you go. So you can do it that way if you want to, but like I said, I'm going to be using it straight from the brush. The brushes I'm going to be using for most of the detail is a round-headed brush. Now, although it says round-headed, it has got a point on the end, and that's really important. You can see that. So I'm going to use a 3 for the detail, and this one's an 8, which I would use for the background when I do the bigger picture later on. But the 3 is the one that I'm going to be using. Now, I've looked at the paintbrush sizes that I've got, and I think you can use pretty much up to a 3 to a 5. Probably give you a nice detailed thing while still being able to spread quite a bit of water around. So I've just poured myself out a little bowl of water. I love this bowl. I've got this from a little shop in Portsmouth. But I do find that it's really hard to knock it over. I say that and I'll probably spill it now, but I find it's a lot easier than trying to use a jam jar or something like that. And it also means you're not soaking the whole brush every single time. You can just get the tip of it. Right, so the first technique I'm going to show you is using the pencils, how they tend to demonstrate them anyway, which is where you draw straight on and then you blend it out. So I'm going to go around the edge. I'm going to keep the firmness pretty light, to be honest, because you don't want to end up with pencil lines. So I'm just literally going to go around the edge like this, and barely putting any pressure on there at all, because you can always go back in and add more, but it's harder to take it off. And you've got to remember that because these are Inktense pencils, they will get stronger as soon as you add colour to them. And you're not going to worry about the details yet, because as these are Inktense pencils, once they dry, they become permanent. So it means that you can go over the colour and it won't re-bleed what you've already done, whereas normal watercolour pencils do that. Now I want my feet and the beak to be yellow, and the hair to be yellow here, but probably the insides of this to be blue. Okay, and then with the yellow, we're just going to put a faint thing just random in here, just on the inside, so we've got a colour to blend back to. Got my little feathers. So then we're going to add water, and you're going to work from the middle out. You don't want to start from the outside line and bring it in, because you won't pick up as much of the yellow. You want it to blend. So I'm going to work reasonably in the middle. You can see that getting vibrant there, and then as soon as you pick up that blue on the outside, then you can drag it back in again. Again, clean brush, start again, same thing, again, work to the outline and bring it back again. Same thing again, the yellow, bring it till you've got a good texture to the line. Now if you find, because you use the pencil, you've got these pencil lines that you can still see, if you do it while it's still wet, you can actually blend them out a bit more. So just add a little bit more of the blue onto your brush, a tiny bit, and then you can go back in again while it's wet, and it will blend it out a bit more. Just conceals it a bit more. You may like those brush marks, you may not, it's up to you. The pencil marks, I think. So the yellow feet. Let's try again. And obviously, even with this technique of using the pencils first, there's no reason why you can't keep going in with colour afterwards. So once you've had your first layer, let it dry. Like I said, it'll become permanent, and then you can add another layer on it, and it won't reactivate the colour that's underneath. So you can keep adding and adding and adding. Okay. So the second one that I'm going to do is just using one colour. Now I'm going to use the blue for this one. Again, you can draw it on if you like to, but I like to go from the brush, or again you can go from the sandpaper. That's what we wanted to. So I'm just going to give it pretty much a wash of colour all the way over in one colour. Now I don't like the harsh lines that they leave on here, because I want it to blend. Obviously, if you wet your card a little bit first, it helps move it as well. So these are just the techniques that I do. You know, try your own, have a play. The best thing to do is, like I say, is stamp out an image a few times, and then you can have a play with loads of different techniques. So it's especially good in an art journal, because you can play and write next to it what you're doing, and then you remember next time, oh, I did that technique, or I did that technique. And you can have a play, which is exactly what I did for this. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the left side. I'm going to keep going while it's still wet, and hopefully by that time the right side will dry, and I'll show you what I mean by layering once it's dry. So I'm going to go in with a bit more colour, and you can see straight away it's already darker, but we want to think about where the shading points are for this. So under his hair and his crown, it's going to have a little bit of shadow. And then probably under here where they've already got the shadow hinted. So we can go in. And then be round his belly, so in this area here. just do his legs are dark. See, when you want to get dark straight away, as little water as possible, and then it saves the layers that you need to put in. But even when it's this dark, you can still go in once it's dry and go again. I'm the same. This time I'm using obviously a small brush because then I can do that detail. And even adding these little stars. If you're using normal watercolour pencils, you wouldn't be able to add this detail in because it would just blend out with the rest of it. It would reactivate what you had underneath. Okay, the third one that we're going to be doing is a bit like this one. We're leaving it to dry between layers, but I'm going to do it with the two colours. So we're going to do the yellow first. Come back to that in a minute, leave it to dry while we work on the next one. Okay, so the next one is going to be blending the two colours while it's wet. So a bit like the first one that we did with obviously the pencils, but you'll see how much you'll be able to blend when you're not using the pencils and you're using them more like a watercolour. So if you were using the palette, you get more of this effect with it. So again, start exactly the same as we did here, but you need to work with it while it's still quite wet. So we're just going to do a section at a time. Okay, like I say, while it's still wet, I'm going to pull in the second colour. And then we get that green here. Now obviously you can start out subtle and build it up, or keep it going. And that's the first 4 techniques done.